And now, without further ado, we have James Shaw. Let me stop sharing so you can see James. I know we have a lot of James Shaw groupies on here today. And in typical James Shaw fashion, he had every reason to cancel on us today. He actually had to be evacuated out to Atlanta. Is that where you are now, James?
Yes, I was teaching here Monday, and so since we've got Milton on the way to our house, I live in the Tampa Bay area. Terry and Naomi drove up here. That's my wife and daughter, and they're out doing something fun. And I'm gonna hang out with you, so I'm happy to do it. It's no
But you're
problem.
doing something fun also.
Opportunity. What's that?
You're doing something fun as well. You're hanging
Yeah.
out
Oh,
with us.
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it. I totally am. But thank you for inviting me, Al. I appreciate your group. I've always liked your whole Market Center group. I did a bowl back in your group many, many years ago with Sally and all your leaders, and it was so great. The only thing was, if you were in that bowl, remember, there were like 2 stalls in the ladies' room. So our breaks took like 40 minutes to pull them off because we had, everybody go potty. But I'll tell you, you've got such an elite group of market centers, and every time I come visit, to hang out. It's just a good time. And I just don't want people to forget, because I think, Al, like when you are inside the jar, it can be hard to read the ingredients. And not all market center groups and leadership teams are created equal. And you all are in like the top 1% of the top 1%. So I always want to remind people that. I love your group, Al.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. You want me
And
to
so
get after it?
before we move on to what you're going to talk about, did you say you're in Tampa Bay? That's sort of the eye of the storm, right? That's where it's.
Well, right now, yeah, I live in Safety Harbor, which is Clearwater area. And so, maybe right now the center of the storm is going to track a little bit south of us, which maybe a little closer to Sarasota. So that'll help our area from storm surge, but impact others. But, it's still a category. It'll be a 3 probably by the time it gets there. So we'll see what happens. Tampa Bay has not had a direct hit of a hurricane in 103 years. So we will see if it happens in the next 36 hours or so.
We'll definitely keep you guys in our thoughts and prayers. Thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah, you got it. So I don't have my normal setup, but we'll do the best we can. So let me share and jump in and walk you through kind of what I think is going to be a good use of your time today. And it's just, I want to share what I think are the 2 most important words in the business. And I think we get confused. But before we do it, I want to talk to you about my favorite movie. Well, one of my favorite movies. Did anybody else ever see Back to the Future? Put it in the chat. Maybe you saw it on Broadway. Apparently, for some reason, we have decided that it's vitally important that we turn this movie into a musical. And so now at the Winter Garden Theater in New York City, you can go and see it. Does anybody seen the musical of this? It sounds odd to me, but that's fine. But I love Back to the Future. I mean, think about all the things that you can do if you could go back and change decisions of the past, or move forward and look at how decisions have impacted you. It's quite fascinating. So I think we should do it. And so let's do this. Let's go in and set it. Today is October 8th, 2024. So let's go back in our time machine to October 8th, 2019. Just if in your mind, go back into October 18th of 2019, 5 years ago. And I just want you to do me a favor, and in the chat, just type in okay. They're saying the music was phenomenal, by the way. Amanda said that. I don't know. We'll see. Go in and put in the chat, what were you doing 5 years ago, October 8th of 2019? Like, what was going on in your world? Will you put this in the chat for me? I'm really just curious. Go back in your life. Because, okay, Ira's in real estate school. Ira, you've come a long way in 5 years' time. Ira, who's been on Broadway, by the way. But I'm curious, is Ira the only one who's going to answer? Working 9 to 5? They could turn that into a musical. You were in real estate. Michelle was in real estate school. Kathy was too. All of these people who've been part of Pivot were back in real estate school. When I think about it, pre-pandemic, 5 years ago, October of 2019, we were not even thinking about a pandemic or COVID-19 or any of most of you didn't even know what Zoom was. Like, you didn't have a Zoom account in October of 2019. So much has changed. And same for me. October 2019, I was still coaching Bold. I was out on the road. going in and helping people like I'd done of Bold and Bergen County with you guys before. And then you fast forward 5 years and think about how much has changed. Today, I want to teach you the lessons of the 5 years. And that's when I discovered what I think are the two most important words in our business. And so I'll just share with you what something to think about with that. And it's this, 5 years ago, if you go back to October 8th, 2019, we didn't have a lot of the stuff we have today. In fact, it wasn't until March 16 of 2020 that I created the Pivot Shift Ahead Facebook group. Now, I imagine most of you are members of Pivot Shift Ahead. It's on Facebook. If you're not a member, honestly, you're kind of one of the weird ones because we've got 120,000 people who are part of Pivot Shift Ahead. So get in there because it's free. And we do a daily mastermind call that a lot of you are on. I see Orly's on the call. She's on there every day. Ira's on every day. Michelle's on every day. We got a lot of people. Kathy, who commented earlier, is on all the time. And in that community, what we've been doing every day for nearly 5 years is masterminding and strategizing together about ways that we can succeed in any market, ways that we can take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us. And that's where I learned what I think are the two most important words. Now, I want you to do me a favor and put in the chat, what do you think are the two most important words in the real estate world? Like in your business, what are the two most important words? And I think I know what you're going to put in first, and it's probably going to be wrong. So, but oh, hey, Sally. I love Sally. She's great. Yeah, that's what I thought people would put in first. Lead generation. Lead generation. Orly, listings is one word, Orly. I'm asking for two, but I love you still. Get listings is what she meant to put. Michelle says follow up. Like, this is really great. Just sold, that's good. Database with also one word. But you're in the neighborhood, right? So let me just show you what I think are the two most important words in the business. Are you ready for them? Here we go. Get ready. Write it down. Be boring. I think two most important words in the business are be boring. And I'd add to it, don't get cute. Like, just be boring. Figure out what are the most important things in the business, which are all boring things and none of them will excite you. And then go do those more days than you don't do them. And so I want to take a minute to walk through some lessons that I've learned through Pivot Shift Ahead and that then I've attempted to teach back in leading that community. And so some of these might be controversial. In fact, some of them may just be downright offensive to some of you. And if that's an issue, then fine, let it be. But I want you to learn these lessons because I think they're really important. So let's start with the first one. And these are all I did for this is I just took screenshots of stuff we have posted inside of Pivot Shift Ahead to get your mind moving. Because I do think that who we hang out with matters and the conversations we have matter. It's easy in today's market to go super negative. It's easy listen, I've got a hurricane coming to my house right now, and there are a lot of people that are super negative about it and think everything is horrible, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be bad, and there's going to be a journey ahead for us. And that there's others that are going, look, I can't control what this hurricane's going to do, but I can control my response. I can't control the decisions I make along the way. And I want you to recognize that, yeah, the market is harder than it's been, but you get to control your decisions. So let's jump in and look at some of the stuff to get your mindset moving in the right direction. So these are all things we posted inside of Pivot Shift Ahead to help you think about how to move forward. And here's the first lesson. The first lesson I want you to think about is this. We posted this back in June. And that was, the market is irrelevant, go to work. The market is irrelevant. Go to work. Now, here's what I mean by that before you get offended, because someone just got offended. Well, James, there's fewer homes being sold. True. That's a true story. There are fewer homes being sold this year. In fact, this year, we might not even get to 4 million transactions, Al. Like we got around 4 million last year, got around 4 million the year before that. But the year before that, we had over 6. This year, it's possible we don't even get to 4 million transactions. Listen, going from 6 million transactions to 4 million transactions, that's a major change in opportunity. In fact, if you think about it, 4 million transactions is 8 million sides because there's a buyer and a seller, somebody on every side. 12 million or 6 million transactions is 12 million sides. You've lost 4 million opportunities to buy and sell houses. But here's what I know. Never went to zero. In fact, if you go back 5 years ago, March and April of 2020, even back then, when we had an excuse for the market to go to zero, it didn't go to zero. Now, here's the thing we have to think about is this. Is it harder? 100%. Are there fewer opportunities? Absolutely. But there's enough for you. No, there's enough for you. Now, there's not enough for every agent in NAR. In fact, if I called all 1.4 million agents of NAR, or however many there are this week, and I said, what's your goal? 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 And I added it all up, there wouldn't be enough for everybody. But there's enough for you. In fact, do me a favor. Al, there are 92 people on this call, probably the lowest attendance you've ever had. But what I want you all to do is put in the chat for me, what is your goal? When you started 2024, when you go back to the first of the year of 2024, what was your goal in homes sold? How many homes did you want to sell? I don't care about the number. I don't have any judgment around the number. I'm just curious about the number. So Iris says, Iris, quick on the keyboard today, man. You are all over it. Iris says 15. Arlene, hey, what's on, friend? 50, Iris says 24. Arlene says 15. We got a 40. We have a 36. I feel like I'm calling out plays for the New York Jets. I heard they need a coach. I heard the Jets need a coach. So only 5 people are going to put Susan. Hey, Susan, 15, 30, 12, 15. I mean, here's the thing. Some of you maybe don't even know, which is why you aren't putting it in, but I did ask for 100% participation. 15, 25, 15, 42, 25. Okay, you get it, right? So here's the question. Is it less than 8 million? Like when I look at this, Eric wants 36 deals. There's 36 deals to be had in Bergen County, New Jersey, and some of you are probably licensed in New York and other places. There is opportunity for you. The question is, are you going to do the activities required to help you get it? The state of the market is irrelevant to the individual agent's success. It does matter. It does rather, though, expose your skill set and your activities. That's the first lesson. Now, if that one didn't offend you, don't worry. This one probably will. This one says this. If some of you were as obsessed about talking to your database as you NAR the NAR settlement, you'd have a massively successful business. If some of you were as obsessed about this talking to your database as you are this NAR settlement, you'd have a massively successful business. Now, I know probably in New Jersey, y'all do this perfect anyway. And you always fill out all your papers, and you always meet up front and talk with buyers about their options, and you always discuss compensation up front. But here's the thing is that, yeah, I love Orly, what NAR settlement. The thing about the settlement was this, right? You remember this. We took out compensation out of the MLS. And then now we've got to meet with our buyer in advance and have an agency type conversation and discuss compensation with them up front. Listen, there are so many places you can go where you heard agents complaining and moaning about this NAR settlement over and over and over and how it was going to change their business. How that now buyers, instead of needing an agent, they would just call the listing agent directly. Like that's some genius idea that no one's ever thought of before and no one's ever done. I mean, don't you all put for sale signs in the yard of your houses with your phone number on it in the hopes that a buyer does call you directly? This is not some genius idea. And it reminds me of, now this is before I got in the business. I got my license almost 20 years ago. I've been in the business 19 and a half years. And right before I got in, kind of when I graduated from high school in 1996. Right before I graduated from high school, there was a little thing that used to come. Some of you might remember this, called the MLS book. Put it in the chat if you remember the MLS book. Not Ira, just got his license 5 years ago, but put it in the chat if you remember the MLS book. And the book would come out and it'd have a picture of the house and a bunch of codes in it. And then if a buyer or somebody was curious about going to look at a house, well, they had to come and sit in front of you because you were the only one with the book. You were the only one that had the information about what homes were for sale. But then here's what happened. We moved the book to the computer. So now instead of getting a book every week or 2 weeks or every month, depending on how your market did it, now you could log onto the computer and you typed like this back then and log on the computer and pull the same information. But then once you put it on the computer, they said, well, let's put it on the internet. All right, once the internet became a thing, they said, let's put it on the internet. Well, listen, there were agents back then that said, this is it. Nobody's going to need a real estate agent anymore because now they can go get the information themselves. They don't need me. See, back when we had the real estate book, I was the keeper of the information, which is a functionary duty, by the way. That doesn't offer any value whatsoever. You're just the keeper of the information. But back then, it was like, but if they don't have the book, they can pull it up themselves. Now they'll just call people directly. They won't need me. Fast forward, do you know that last year, 2023, more people hired a real estate agent than any time in history in this country? 89% of buyers and sellers used a real estate agent for their transaction. That tied for the highest number in history after the real estate book or the MLS book went away. Why? Because they need your advice. They need your guidance. They need your help. They need to cut through the noise. That's the lesson there. Let's go to the next one. I hope this is fun. I hope you're enjoying yourself, because I am. The next lesson, we've got a few lessons today, so we covered the first two. Here's the third one. Learn the plays, run the plays. It's that simple. I say this one all the time. We even have a t-shirt that says learn the plays, run the plays. Learn the plays, run the plays, that simple. Look, even Nicole liked this one. You see her right there in your market center, featured on the shot. Learn the plays, run the plays. It's that simple. You know what I think is so great, especially about KW, is KW is a company of models and systems. In fact, now I don't know about you, but here I've evacuated from my house, but what do I have with me? Copy of MREA, because it goes everywhere I go. I'm sure whenever you guys leave your house, you take a copy of MREA with you. And what I love about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is that this is the models and systems. This tells you what to do. Think of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent as a list of best practices. Like, what are the best practices? What are the strategies other agents are doing? Here's what I like about our Pivot Shift Ahead community. There's lots of different people who claim to be real estate coaches or real estate experts or gurus or whatever you want to say. I don't like to lump myself in any of that. I don't see me as that. I'm not an expert. I haven't sold houses in a long time. In fact, there's one person out there who coaches, who refers to people like me as a NAT. In other words, not a non-active trainer. And I just think that's so ridiculous because we don't need to be, we don't need to be out selling every single day to understand what's working. And what I believe to be true is that when we get a community together of people and we mastermind together as a community of people, we learn what's working out there from others so that we can take it and apply it for ourselves. In other words, instead of learning the system of one person that worked for that one person that may or may not work for you, let's learn the strategies and the systems of a whole bunch of people so we can pull it together, figure out what the plays are, and go run them. Well, that's what we do every day inside Pivot Shift Ahead. And one thing I do every Wednesday inside of Pivot is interview some agent who's doing something at a really high level. And in fact, Al, do you know we've interviewed many people inside your Market Center group, inside of your group on these calls. And so I'm going to put my website in the chat, if that's okay, where you can go to jamesdshaw.com and click agent interviews, type in whatever you want to find. It could be an open house strategy. It could be a door knocking strategy. It could be an event strategy. But if you go there and just click on the event agent interview section, we've got so many plays that you can learn and then go run. It's not about, the bottom line is it's making sure that you run plays that work, that you're doing things that are moving you forward. All right, let's do the next one. These are all our lessons from inside of Pivot Shift Ahead. And I hope you're enjoying this and getting a lot of value out of it. Let's look at the next one, which is this. We often overvalue the goal and undervalue the process. Forget about the goal and focus on the process. We often overvalue the goal and undervalue the process. Forget about the goal and focus on the process. We did that one back in September. It's interesting because if you were on today's Pivot Shift Ahead call today, we had a very similar conversation. I talked about watching College Game Day on Saturday. Do you know that's the show? That's the show on ESPN on Saturday mornings before the college football starts. And I don't usually watch that. I've just not been a show I watch, but for some reason this season I've watched it. And what I've discovered is I like Nick Saban when he's not coaching Alabama. Like, I like watching him talk because he's smart. And for the first time ever in my life, I paused it and took notes, like watching Nick Saban talk on College Game Day on Saturday. And one thing he was talking about, and we talked about this morning in Pivot Shift Ahead, so many of you probably saw it. But one thing he talked about was the difference between being a transactional leader and a transformational one? In other words, is it about winning and losing, or is it about helping your people? And he said in that piece on Saturday, he said, you go play by play, and he says, and you focus only on the process and you ignore the outcomes because you can't control the outcome. I'm just curious, anyone here play a sport in high school or college or professionally? There were times that you may have played one of the best games you've ever played and still lost because the other team just happened to have the ball at the end and made the really long field goal to win it. And that just is what it is. So focus on the plays, focus on the process, ignore the outcomes. But the challenge in this industry is we are so outcome focused. Oh, I don't have enough listings. Oh, I need more buyers. Oh, I'm behind on my goal. Oh, I'm ahead of my goal. Oh, I'm not going to reach my goal. Oh, who cares about the goal? It's the market's fault anyway. Instead of going, what do I need to do today? How many people should I talk to today? If I'm going to do an open house tomorrow, what should I be doing today to make sure that I have as many people as possible come into my open house? How do I make sure that my conversion rate on my appointment to listing taken goes up? Like, am I practicing my conversations and asking the right questions? That's about process. And we tend to undervalue that process and overvalue outcomes. Let's do another lesson from Pivot Shift Ahead. And if you aren't coming into Pivot, boy, I hope you will, because I think we've got some good stuff in there. Here's the next one. There's more than one way. Do what works for you. There is more than one way. Do what works for you. This goes back to something that I said earlier, is that when you are learning strategies, be careful if it's one solo person, like one agent saying, here is what I do. You need to go do this too. That worked for them. May not work for you. Now, in this book, I love this book. It's The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And what I love about the book is that they walk through, Gary and Jay and Dave, and they walk through all the different ways that we could lead generate. It's on page 138. It's right here, page 138. And they list all these different strategies. And people go, well, what should I do? Well, I don't care. Whatever is going to work for you. I told people the other day when I was selling, I was not an open house guy. Now, some of you live and die by the open house. Like, that is your main strategy. And that was never my main strategy. First, I didn't like working on weekends, okay? And I didn't want to do open houses. I didn't like driving all around, putting signs out and doing all the stuff, getting balloons and cookies and all the things. And then I'm not people-y. So when people come in, I don't know. What do I say to them? Hi. Thanks for coming to the open house. Have a look around. If I can help you, let me know. It was not my jam. I didn't like it. So I didn't do them. But you know what I did do? I loved calling for sale by owners and expireds. Loved it. It was one of my absolute favorite things because I could pull the list. This is before all the do not call rules, right? I was talking 2006, 2007. It's a little bit different game back then, but I could go pull the list, pick up the phone, smile and dial, talk to a bunch of people pretty quickly. Some of them were mean, some of them were nice, and some of them, and over time, because I was pretty good with my follow-up, over time, we would take listings and I'd pursue, I don't know, about 100 for sale by owners and expireds at a time. And the team I was on, by the way, the year we were doing this, we were the #1 team in all the Keller Williams back then. We did 444 transactions on that team. And a bunch of them came from the efforts that I did around for sale by owners and expireds. I liked the efficiency. I liked the challenge, and I was willing to do the follow-up. And others of you are going, I would never do that. Great, don't. If that's not in your lane, don't do it. But figure out what are the 4 or 5 buckets that you need in your world to hit your production goals so that you can lead generate in a way that is in alignment with who you are. Because if it's not in alignment with who you are, you will not do it for a long period of time. I could do an open house if I had to this weekend for somebody, but it would not be a long-term play for me. All right, so that's that one. Let's go to the next one. This is so much fun. Next one says this: it's the little choices we make daily that have the largest impact on our lives. Get consistent in the small things, and your world will expand in a big way. And look, I've made a graphic for that. I got on Canva and made it look fancy. Look how great that is. Small decisions are greater than the big ones. Well, James, what do you mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. the stuff that you sit and think about and agonize about and like, what should we do? And da 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 da, have so little to do with your success than the little decisions you make, like what you do in the morning. Like when you get up in the morning, are you in a routine that's moving you closer to the life you want to live or further away? And those decisions are made quickly and without much thought. Are you going to eat healthy or not eat healthy? Are you going to get some movement in and exercise or not get some movement in and exercise? Are you going to get on our daily mastermind call that we do at 8 o'clock in the morning your time to get your mind moving in the right direction? And then when that's over, are you getting on some sort of role play call or not for 15 minutes? And then when that's over, are you getting into some sort of lead gen routine, whether that's calling people, knocking doors, hosting an event, sending text messages? I don't care what it is, but are you getting into some routine that's moving you forward? Those are small decisions, not big ones. The small decisions we make daily have the biggest impact on our results. I got two more. Do we have time, Al, for two more? Because I've got two more that I love to share with the folks. So here it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. We'll do two more. Intensity makes a good story. Consistency makes progress. Intensity makes a good story. Consistency makes progress. Remember, I told you the two words were be boring, because consistency is boring. If I wrote a book called How to Be Consistent, nobody would read it. Not one person would read it. But if I wrote a book called Take 75 Listings in 13 Minutes, that would be a bestseller. Everybody wants to know how to take 25 listings in 16 minutes. So here's the thing I want you to think about. Who in here, put it in the chat, have you ever done a 75 hard? You've heard of the thing that programs 75 hard? Put it in the chat. 75 hard is like a kind of a fitness and mindset challenge. And I think conceptually it's a great idea. We should be exercising. We should be eating healthy. It's probably really smart to avoid alcohol, which is one of the things in there. You should be reading books that help grow your mind and move you forward. And that's basically the thing, right? So 75 hard says you have to do 2 workouts a day of 45 minutes each for 75 days. And one of them has to, at least one has to be outside. And then on this 75 days, you also have to pick some sort of diet plan, meal plan of some kind. They don't tell you which one, you get to pick and follow that for 75 days. No alcohol for 75 days. You've got to read, like, I don't know what it is, 10 minutes or something like that for 75 days. And so you get to, those are the things. And along with some others, you have to journal, you have to take a picture of yourself every day for 75 days and watch this transformation. And it's had, many people have done this program and it has helped them in a big way. In fact, I talked to a team leader in South Florida once who said, I did it. I said, what happened? He said, well, one day I'm at home and I'm getting ready to, go to bed or jump in the shower or whatever. And he said, my wife looked over at me and said, woo, I've never seen you with a 6-pack before. And I said, how'd that work out? He said, it worked out pretty well. I said, that's great. Congratulations, your 6-pack and your wife noticing. That's good. I said, now, how long ago was that 75 hard? He said, about 6 months ago. I said, what happened to the 6-pack? He said, it's more like a mini keg. I go, okay, that explains it. See, we got intense on something for 75 days and we got results, but without consistency, it goes away. But we get really excited. Don't you get excited when you see the progress photos somebody posts over what they accomplished in a short amount of time? But you don't get excited when we talk about doing the same thing every single day. Intensity makes a good story, but consistency makes progress. Last one. This is my last one for you, and that's this. Go be boring. Go be boring. It's the best method to reach your goals. And here's what we mean by that. Once you figure out what are the key components that you need in your world to hit your business goals, and you go focus on those daily, you're going to win. In addition to leading the Pivot Shift Ahead community, a few years ago, I had some agents reach out to me and say, James, can we do more stuff with you? And I said, yeah, that's fine. They said, we want to go deeper and talk more and mastermind together. And I said, okay, that's cool. But listen, I can't do everything for free. Pivot is free. I still have a mortgage to pay and a 12-year-old daughter who is in dance 6 days a week. So we're going to have to, bring some revenue in. Oh, no, we'll pay you, they said. So I created a private mastermind called the Inspire Collective. You guys have a bunch of people who are part of that in this group, and thank you. And in the Inspire Collective, thank you, Orly, for wearing your shirt. In the Inspire Collective, we mastermind and strategize around ways that you can succeed and things that will help you win. And the lesson in that from them is that really every day we have the same call because we're focused on making sure we hit our goals. So we just finished last week what we call our Fall Forward Challenge, and it was a huge hit. Some people are continuing it, and any member who missed it, you can go back and watch all the recordings. But we created a point-based system where we gave the activities that you do every day, reaching out to your database, sending text messages, doing coffees, hosting client events, showing houses, writing offers, getting buyer agency contracts, getting price reductions. We assigned a point value to all these different things, writing handwritten notes, knocking on doors, doing open houses. And we said, go look at this menu of things and go get 30 points every day. I don't really care what you do, but if you just get up every day and get 30 points, then you'll be great. And that reminded me of something. Because people would text me and go, James, I don't know. We had a lot of people, by the way, get 30 points, 35 points, 40 points by doing the different things. But then I'd have others that say, James, I only got 15 points today. I only got 17 points today. I don't know about this. I only got 20 points today. I only got 6 points today. And I go, I just want you to think for a minute. The week before we started this challenge, just think, how many points would you have earned like all week? Like as you reflect on the week, as a whole, before we even put this in front of you, what would your point total have been? Well, probably less than what I even did today. And I go, good. That's the key lesson in being boring and choosing to be consistent, and that's this. Consistency and perfection are not the same thing. We often think consistency and perfection are the same. That if I don't hit 30 points every day, then I'm not winning. But truth is, if you hit 17 points today, but normally you'd have hit nothing, you won. And I'll wrap up with this. It's something I learned from Naomi. She's my 12-and-a-half-year-old daughter, who, as I shared with you, is in dance. She's got, this year she'll have 14 recital dances. She's got 5 competition dances. She's on the dance team at her dance studio. And she dances Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Think about her schedule for a minute at 12 years old. She's in 7th grade. School starts at about 9 o'clock. School goes from 9 to 4. So she goes to school from 9 to 4, gets home, does whatever homework she has. And then most days she has dance from 6 to 9. Ballet, jazz, tap, acro, you name it. Dance from 6 to 9. Well, here's what I do. I drop her off at dance a little bit before 6. And then at about 10:40 or 8:45, I swing back by dance to pick her up. Well, one day I pull up to pick her up and I'm watching the end of her jazz class or something. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't think I really like this. I mean, we pay a lot of money for dance. Her dance bill is the same as a private school. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think like she's giving it her all. So Naomi gets in the car and I said, hey kiddo, how was dance today? Fine. Okay. How do you think you did? I did fine. What was your energy level like? It was okay. And I go, really? And my 12-year-old turns and looks at me and says, Dad, if all I have is 20% and I give it 20%, I gave it 100%. Now I had an aha right there. First of all, I'm proud of my 12-year-old for being willing to tell her dad to dial it back, right? And I appreciate the lesson that she taught me. Consistency isn't about doing all the things all the time. You can't be all in all the time, but you got to be in. And if all you have is 20%, go give your 20% and tomorrow come back and make it a great day. I hope this is a value, Al. I hope this is kind of what you were looking for, but it's what was on my mind. And so I appreciate you bringing me in and letting me talk to your group. I love your group in Bergen County and your people who are going to be on the ALC. I'll see you at ALC Clinic coming up here in a few weeks as well. But Al, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. This was super helpful for me, and I know it was for the agents as well. One of your groupies has raised her hand. Orly?
Yeah, she's my biffle. What's going on, Orly?
Very good. This is the third time I've seen James today.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
It's true. And it's
So
been the same message all 3 times.
exactly. But you know what? You hear it differently every time. So I just want to, tell everybody, if you're not on pivot shift, which I am every morning at 7:30, and then we go live at 8 o'clock, there's not a morning that I don't get something. It's either validating of something that I'm doing. It's either tweaking something that I could be doing better, or giving me an idea that I didn't even think about that makes my business grow and just inspires and motivates me to just get into the office and increase my business. And then Inspire, I happen to be wearing the shirt today, goes down deeper, where you really go into how to get expireds, how to get FISBOs, how to create a VIP program. So I'm not only a groupie, I just really believe in what James, his talent is actually tapping into the brains and the talents of all the realtors around the country and Canada who are doing high level business on a high level standard. And not everything. Everybody has their own little magic and talent, but he knows how to tap into that and then give it to us on a menu where you can choose whatever resonates with you and make it your own.
Yeah. Well, Orly, I thank you for that, because that is the goal. I think we've so many smart people, and there's so many different ways that agents are succeeding. I like learning from them. I'm curious. And then that's in Pivot, and then especially in Inspire, we try to bring that to everybody. So thank you, Orly, for that. Hey, Arlene.
Hey, James, before we go to Arlene, how does somebody find out about Inspire? Is that at jamesshaw.com or?
Yeah, you can go to my website and I'll put it in. And the way it works is here's my website right there. It's $99 a month. We meet every Tuesday at noon. Every call is recorded, and we'll mastermind, or we'll bring keynotes in. We do all sorts of special different courses and things too, but the link is right there. Thank you, Al, for asking.
Me? Okay.
Go ahead, Arlene.
So-
How are you?
Great, thanks. Yes, it's the third time I'm seeing you today, and I think it's fabulous and very excited. But I also just had to take a ride to a client, so there I can always go back and listen to as I'm driving in your mighty network. So it's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I wanted to recognize you for as well is, and you haven't mentioned it on this one, is the fact that you really care about the entire person, not just our business. And the big thing that you really do zero in on us as people, and you incorporate and the work-life balance and how to be able to participate in that. And I think that was great. And yes, the point system is fabulous. I do like the gold stars though as well. So
We'll give
I
you
look
some gold
forward to
stars.
that. And I like the fact that you also have the masterminds that we go to in person and how they saved us in COVID. So it was great.
Thank you. Arlene, thank you. I do think we're whole people. So I do think when we do, especially our in-person stuff that we do, we work really hard to make sure we're talking about not just how to be a great agent and build a great business, but all those aspects of your life. So Arlene, thanks for that. Ira.
All of the above to what Arlene and Orly have said, but also remember, when you see the same folks every morning, you get to know who they are and where they live and where they practice. I got 2 listings this year through referrals on Pivot Shift,
That's good.
and sold 2 properties last year
That's great.
because of Pivot Shift. So it's a really great family.
Thank you, Ira. Proud of you, buddy. Kathy, I guess I'll just keep calling on him. Hey, Kathy.
James, this is the third time for me too. Third time today. Good to see you. What I wanted to share actually is I started with Pivot Shift Ahead in the beginning of 2023, even though Arlene had told me about it since 2020. I finally made that investment in myself and go on as much as I can. And then I also enjoyed joining the Inspire group. And I think that it's been one of the best things that I've done for myself, investing in myself, but also what James and invests in all of us. What I really appreciate about James is how he brings people together, how he really is a good listener. And he is so astute in terms of when something is said, how he can really turn it around and share with everyone. And it's not just for top producers. It's for whether you started real estate this morning or whether you've been in business for 100 years. And he treats everyone with respect and equality in terms of listening and helping to make, the points being said. And I would say one of the big things that this has been a really good year for me in real estate. And one of the things that I think resonated with me coming out of the sessions with James is that I finally learned how to divorce the outcome of the business that I was doing, so that I was involved in something that I understood that sometimes it's okay, that it's not the right thing to do. And when I divorced that, my business continued to flourish. So just really appreciate what you do, James. And I really would encourage anyone that if you want your business, if you want to thrive, if you want to really get your business to the next level, it's a very good investment in yourself. And in the scheme of things, a very little investment to pay financially.
Well,
to
and
invest.
Pivot is free, so you can always get into Pivot for free. If you want to join the paid group, you can too. I think you're talking about the importance of process. Something I learned from a guy named Brad Stulberg, wrote a book called The Practice of Groundedness. We've had him on both Pivot and Inspire. He's a great guy. He talks about how the way that we pursue goals is this, right? We set a goal, because you've got to set a goal, and that goal should have some kind of meaning. And then the next thing is you figure out the steps that are required for you to reach the goal. And then third, then you go focus on the steps and you forget about the goal. And if you just do it like that, if you're focusing on the steps daily, then you're setting yourself up to win instead of obsessing about the goal. In fact, he says, if you find yourself obsessing or focusing on the goal, just pause and ask, what should I be doing right now to get me on track for it? So Kathy, that goes in line with what you said. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, James. So everyone pretty much covered what I was going to say. However, for me, it's been about learn the plays, run the plays. It's, spending just the daily call, learning from MREAs across the country, copying things or R&Ding things such as blessing baskets and buyer letters. And I would have never learned any of this stuff without Pivot Shift Ahead. And then, Inspired, you dive deeper and you give us the playbooks and you help us even, learn the plays better and run them, and with some accountability. I mean, the challenges have been timed so well, because we all know real estate's a roller coaster, and I've seen business come from each of the challenges. I couldn't participate in the summer one, unfortunately, because timing and no school and vacations and whatnot, but fall and in this current one, I was able to pick up some business from it just ended. So thank you.
You're welcome, Michelle. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah,
I
likewise.
do think that the one thing is, what I like to do is, and Orly brought it up, find out what's working, document it, and then give it to you so you can go run it, and then you can figure out what works for you. That's the learn the plays, run the plays piece. Thanks, Michelle. All right, Nicole, it looks like you're probably the last one because it's 2:56. So good morning. Or good afternoon.
I will make it very fast. I can talk very fast. First off, I said it in the chat, but the $100 a month I pay for, or we all pay for Inspire, is the best money I spend on myself. It works out to be about $25 a week, and the investment is just mind-blowing. You're connecting with agents all across North America, and you are learning from top agents to newbies who have just great ideas. It's third call of the day. It's my daughter's second call of the day. It's a family affair over here.
Tell her we're doing just fine, by the way. I know she's worried about it.
She was very worried. Is James going away? Yes, James is leaving. The one thing you didn't talk about that you have talked about in the past is just be average. Just do what is right on a daily basis. You don't need to be a superstar, day in and day out. You need to just be average, and average is going to get you far because you're just doing the right thing. So
yeah,
that's
thank you. I agree with that. Hit your goals, hit your averages, and you'll be all set. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Well, Al and Elizabeth, thank you for having me. It was an honor to be with your group. I think you guys are great people, and I hope this is of value to your agents today.
It absolutely was. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate it, and be safe down there.
Will do. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.